listener production.
Hey, it's Helen Smith here. Welcome to the Weekend Briefing, where we sit down with the names and faces behind the headlines and dig a little deeper. This week, Bec Judd. She's someone who's shamelessly vain, and it all started with a red dress at the Brownlow Medals where she captured the nation, creating a media frenzy that marked the beginning of her career in the public eye. The Perth girl went from working as a speech pathologist in the neurosurgery and trauma ward to becoming a TV presenter, radio host, and one of Australia's most famous wags, which we get into. Her latest endeavour involves chatting about the intersection of beauty, feminism, and identity, which involves salmon sperm facials, de-influencing dangerous tanning items, and the beauty standards we abide by. In this chat with Bec, we get into how she dealt with public opinion since her early 20s, the procedure she would never get, and the questions she gets asked but not her husband. A little later in the show, we have the weekend list with Antoinette Lattouf, where we recommend what to do, eat, watch, and everything in between. But first, here's my chat with Bec Judd. So, Bec Judd, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. Bec, I want to ask first, is there anything wrong with being vain?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think as long as it doesn't get in the way of your self-worth, I think it's okay to put on makeup and get hair extensions and whiten your teeth. And I think that to want to look good and feel good should be normalised.
You have been in the public eye for a long time. You have been on the back end of media coverage and scrutiny as well, which is kind of all started with a red dress that you wore to the Brownlows. Did you expect that reaction and the response that you got?
No, I didn't. Not at all. I think the reason it got such a big response was twofold. First thing was my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, won the Brownlow Medal that night. So he was the winner. So he got up and he thanked me and it cut to me in the red dress. And if he hadn't have won that night, I'm not sure if it would have been such a big deal. The other thing was that I was a Perth girl and that type of dress had been worn quite often in the lead up to the Brownlow at different social and media red carpet events in Perth in different colours. So I'd seen it in black. I think I'd seen it in maybe some other colour or some other like similar style. So when I wore it in red, I've just rocked up thinking this is what everyone's wearing at the minute. But that was a very Perth fashion trend. And when as we know, Melbourne's very black and quite sophisticated and very classy. So you've got this Perth chick rolls onto the red carpet wearing something that she thought was very normal for the time from where she was from. It definitely caused a big stir. Yeah, I got a bit of a shock.
Well, it's kind of turned into this iconic moment and we were looking at it the other day and I was like, it's giving me J-Lo vibes of, one of those iconic dresses.
In the Versace dress.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an iconic Australian moment, that's for sure. And it was kind of like just perfect conditions. It was a very sexy dress and my boyfriend winning and then the media coverage. I remember because he ended up winning, we didn't fly home to Perth. We had to stay in Melbourne for the week because at the time my husband was playing for the West Coast Eagles, the Perth team. So usually what happens, you do the Brownlow Medal on the Monday night, you do a little bit of media on the Tuesday, and then if you win, you have to stay on and do all the grand final lunches, go to the grand final, be in the grand final parade. It ends up becoming this whole thing. So we were meant to go home to Perth. Then we ended up having to stay. So Crown Towers in Melbourne said, great, we've got the Brownlow medalist. We'll put you up for the whole week. So it was so good and they upgraded our room. So we ended up staying in this massive suite at Crown for the whole week. And I remember Chris's manager called me and he said, don't go downstairs. And I was like, why not? He goes, every camera's there waiting for you. If you go down the lifts, you're going to get hounded. I'm like, why? And he goes, you're on the front page of every newspaper in Australia. I was like, oh, okay. That was a moment. And I didn't know what to do. I think I was 20 years old at the time or 21 and it was my first ever red carpet. I did my first ever media interviews on that red carpet. And I remember I just hid happily hid in my suite at Crown for the day just thinking, wow, I think my life's just changed.
And it did. From there, you went into becoming a TV, a weather presenter, and further, I guess, opening the gates to public opinion and scrutiny. How did you handle that coming from, Perth girl And now, bam, you're on the front page.
Yeah. Look, it was like a baptism of fire, wasn't it? It was very full on. And I remember I got home to Perth and it was when I think the media articles had just moved online and you could click on a story and then you could read comments. And it was very new. So this was 2004. So remember I got home and there were some articles about me. People were sending them to me and I'd read the article and then there'd be like 100 comments and I clicked on the comments and it was like, oh, wow, people are foul. People are gross. And it was before, I think Facebook was newish then. It'd been around for a little while, but there was no Instagram or Snapchat or anything. And those comments from strangers talking about you and saying negative things about you was quite shocking. So I still remember that reaction. I was like, well, that's pretty mean and they don't know me and that's not true and that's not how it happened and I'm not that person. And so that was quite full on, yeah. And I think it's been, 21 years since then and I've learned over time and it's taken me a long while to get here. But I honestly, you know that Mel Robbins, that let them theory? That's me now. Like, let them think whatever they want. Unless they know me personally, I don't take it personally. But it was a journey to get there. So what I did was I stopped clicking on comments, stopped reading comments, learned very quickly that the comment section on news publication sites is a cesspit of trolls, of really unhappy people. And then I've gone through the motions. Even with Instagram early days, I think I went through a period of about 2 years on Instagram where I disabled comments because I'd get trolled so badly that it was affecting my mood. The other thing was that clickbait journos would mine my social media, my comments for headlines. Bec Judd slammed by fans. Well, no, they're not a fan. They're a troll. There's 100 positive comments. You've chosen the one negative one and then used as a clickbait story. And it's that type of story that gets clicks because it's Bec Judd shamed by this or Bec Judd attacked by this or whatever. So I just thought, you know what? It's draining my energy, this constant clickbait negativity about me, which is coming from comments left by trolls on my Instagram. It's not even real news. Most of it was fake news. So I thought, I'm just going to disable comments so then they can't use that for clickbait. So I think I disabled comments for like 2 years and it was so great. Anyway, then what ended up happening was that I do a lot of work on my Instagram and then the algorithm came in and you started needing comments and engagement for your post to be seen. So I had to put them back on. But by then there's tools now that Instagram provides you, like comment controls. And so I feel like I'm protected now from trolls. And also now I just go block, delete. It's out of my orbit. It's not stealing any of my energy. And I'm just ruthless with it now. Even if I have to think, was that a little bit nasty or not? Sorry, ruthless. Block, delete, off you go. Jog on.
You did become famous for the first instance for your appearance. People were seeing you before they even knew you. And you just mentioned that there. People openly think it's, they're right. They can just comment on how you look, what you're wearing, and they don't know you at all. Why do you think people do this? And did you becoming famous for how you looked put extra pressure or make you feel like there was extra pressure to maintain those looks or look as young as you did when, you first popped off in that red dress?
Yeah. I think this is not a novel idea with me that someone's getting trolled for the way they look. If you look at globally, anyone who's a tall poppy gets attacked by people who are not. It comes from a place of jealousy. It comes from a place of envy. It comes from a place of someone feeling insecure about themselves. So I think once you have a better understanding of where that pain is coming from in someone, it helps you to kind of brush it off. I don't feel pressure to look a certain way because of trolls. No, everything I do, the way I look and I feel is what makes me feel confident and empowered and happy. And I feel like if doing things affects your self-worth, then you've got to have a look at your mindset. But for me, I want to look good because when I look in the mirror and I feel good and I've had my hair done and I don't have my greys and when I've got a spray tan, life's good with a spray tan. It just makes me feel good. Whether someone's like, oh, that's so shallow and that's so pathetic, it's like, well, maybe it is, but it makes me feel good. I do feel there is an issue when people tie up their self-worth to their appearance. That is a very, very, very different story, but that's not the case with so many people. You talk to your girlfriends, your family members who are female and males as well, and you all kind of lean into vanity in some way, whether you put a red lip on when you go out, whether you get your nails done, whether you shave your legs. Like there's a scale of leaning into that vanity, and you could just do a little bit, or you could do the whole hog and get treatments and lasers and surgery or whatever. But I feel like we all kind of tap in somewhere on that scale. Some days I tap in on this end, and other days I'm on the zero fucks end. Like when I'm dropping my kids off to school in my pajamas and I'm at home in activewear and I've got no makeup on, and it's great. Other times if I'm working, I do the whole lot. And it's about having that healthy mindset and also not tying your self-worth to your appearance, which I don't.
How do you find that balance? How did you get to that point where you're like, so sure of yourself and you know that your looks do not affect your mindset or how you think?
You know what? I joined a modelling agency when I was 16 and I went overseas and modelled I finished year 12, did in Perth, it was called your TEE, did that, got my good score, always had uni there and ready to go. And I went and modelled overseas for 3 years. I'd go to castings where they'd want a brunette with brown eyes, and I'd walk in and there'd be 50 girls and we all looked exactly the same, and they were choosing one girl. So most of the time you got rejected. So every day I'd go to castings and get rejected based on purely my appearance. So you get a thick skin when you're a model and you go to castings and auditions. You probably book 10% of the jobs you cast for. So I feel like I've just never really tied my self-worth to how I look, and I think that those things can exist. You can want to look good and feel good and for it not to be part of your self-worth. I think a lot of people think, oh gosh, if you get an anti-wrinkle injection, isn't that so sad? They've got no self-worth and they their whole self-worth is based on how they look. It's like that it might be the case for some people, but it's also just about others like myself just wanting to look good and feel good.
Yeah, and moving back a little bit, you mentioned before, you grew up in Perth and then you moved to Melbourne and you studied speech pathology. Did you ever think there was a point of like, oh, I'm going to be a media personality, like I'm going to be, a celebrity, I'm going to be a wag? Did you ever just think, oh, these are all the titles that's going to get thrown out on me?
I don't know. I initially started a degree in film and television and journalism. I did that degree for maybe a year and a half, and I thought it's not for me, which is funny because then I ended up working at 9 News and hosting postcards for so many years. So I kind of tapped into that. Then I moved to speech pathology because I have quite a science brain. And at the time, I did some weather for Channel 7 in Perth. Then I moved over to Melbourne, finished my degree. And at that time, I was getting some really good modelling gigs coming through for Paul Bram and for Maya. And with that, the opportunities were so good. I did love my job as a speech pathologist. I worked at the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne. I worked on the neurosurgery ward, the trauma ward. I worked in ICU, did some amazing things, had some incredible patients. But at that same time, I had this other life where sometimes I'd run from a shoot then to do my shift on the neurosurgery ward at the Alfred as a speech pathologist. And I would have come from a Maya shoot. I'd have the fake eyelashes and the spray tan and I'd go in and the patients would be like, I remember I had this old man, he'd had a stroke, and he said he had word finding difficulties, and he said, wow, he goes, your eyes are so exciting. And I thought, gosh, this is so weird. I've come from I'm fully glammed up and now I'm treating these patients and they're like, where have you come from? Yeah, it was a juxtaposition of worlds, that's for sure. And then I kept that job until I went on mat leave when I had my first son, Oscar. And then I never went back because when I had Oscar, then Instagram kicked off. I started my blog. I had all these awesome opportunities pop up with postcards, which I hosted for 10 years, Channel 9 weather. Oh gosh, so many amazing clients that kind of filled my days up. It was more flexible. So that's kind of how it happened. I don't know if I ever set out to do it, but obviously I'd been a model since I was 16. Yeah, kind of like these concurrent worlds.
I want to talk to you about how you feel about the label of being a wag. Does that diminish people's, own personal identity, I guess, and also their own achievements in whether that's business or work or anything like that?
I've never been one of those don't call me a wag type of people.
Yeah.
If you want to call me a wag, call me a wag. I'm confident in who I am and what I've done and my achievements. And I think it's almost like the word influencer as well. So now I used to be a wag, and now when when I see my headlines about myself, it's influencer Rebecca Judd or influencer Bec Judd. That's kind of the negative title now. You know, you're more than just an influencer. I have hosted a national radio show, TV show, I've written books. I'm a mum of 4 amazing kids. Like, there's so much more. But if they want to call me an influencer, let them. Don't care.
Yeah. And now you also have this amazing new podcast, Vainish.
Vain-ish.
Vain-ish. Yes, I love the name.
Yeah.
The global beauty industry is worth well over $500 billion and it's still growing. Why do you think we are so obsessed with how we look?
Because I feel like it makes us feel better. There's studies that support this. We know that when we feel good and look good, or when we look good, we feel good. And yes, we're influenced by cultural trends, social media trends. But I think also as an innate human being, part of the animal kingdom, we're put on this earth by, looking at it, bigger picture here, to reproduce. We're animals. We're mammals at the end of the day. And it's all about reproduction. And with that, you know, you'll see birds that, the beautiful birds that have the colours to try and attract a mate. You'd have other animals that have a beautiful call or whistle to attract another mate. It's what us as human beings can also do. And we're to different extents. Some people lean in more than others. But there's also an innate biological part of wanting to look good, to find a mate, to reproduce, because that's, we're mammals. At the end of the day, we're animals. So there's that part as well, which I think biologically you can't just switch off, right? No one talks about that. They go, oh, beauty trends are so influenced by social media and celebrities. Yeah, to an extent. But you're also an animal that's made to breed at the same time.
We naturally do it as humans. We look before we speak. We judge with our eyes first.
There's that attraction. Someone will come into the room just like when they're an attractive person, like these, you know, these gorgeous hunky men, and everyone kind of goes like that because there's naturally something eye-catching about a very naturally attractive person. So, for example, there's this model, I love her, Pia Miller. Grew up with Pia. And when Pia was in the room, every woman and every man in that room was looking at Pia Miller because she's so goddamn beautiful, naturally beautiful. And that's a biological need to look at Pia, right? So there is something about attractiveness that I think drives this beauty industry, but we never discuss it because we like to blame celebrities and social media as well.
And something you just said there with like natural beauty and all this kind of talk about natural beauty and then getting enhancements. A lot of conversations I've been hearing a lot is it's almost a flex now to say that you haven't had work done because if you do, then people say, oh, well, you mustn't be naturally pretty or, oh, you must have been ugly before you've had an enhancement. What do you think about that conversation?
You know what? All power to you. I'm kind of like live and let live. Lean into it as much as you want or you don't want. And I think as long as you are happy, empowered, have a great mindset and a really strong sense of self, it doesn't matter really what you do. If you get all the work and you've got a great sense of self and you're a happy, confident, good person, then all power to you. And if you don't do anything, then that's awesome as well. I live by this, let women do whatever they want to do, their body, their choice. And I feel like the more both sides, you know, the people who get all the work and the people who don't respect each other's choices, the less kind of nitpicking and bitching we'll have.
So why do you think now people, and I feel like it's the last couple of years, are becoming more comfortable in admitting that they've had work done?
I think social media drives it. There's a lot of Gen Zs talking about things. I think it's the younger generation who led it. Us millennials would get stuff done and hide it because you'd be shamed if you spoke out about it or admitted to it. But then it's this younger generation. So the younger millennials and the Gen Zs are like, hey, I went and got this done. And they just talk about it so naturally on social media. And it's like, wow, you young people, you're just so open, right? So then it's kind of given us millennials a bit of a nudge to say, hey, if these guys are talking about it, they've kind of led the way. And then it's been led also by celebrities who, your Kris Jenners, your Kylie Jenners, who are coming out and just talking about it really honestly. So I think 2025 is definitely the year of transparency. We were seeing it start to come through last year. But I really think the driver has been authenticity, being genuine, and it's been led by social media. That's just my take. But yeah, that's the trends that I've seen. Yeah. And also it gets to a point where you go, I've always prided myself on, I've done 20 years in this business and having an audience who trust me so much. I can design something or promote something and they know that if I'm putting my name to it, it's got to be good because I don't put my name to shit. And when there was always a part of my life that I wouldn't speak freely about, which was, the beauty side of things and cosmetic side of things, it's almost like you're not being authentic. And my whole brand is about authenticity and being genuine. So it gets to a point where it's like, no, I've got to be honest because I'm honest about everything else. And it's been very liberating to do the Vainish podcast and to have so many guests come on and talk about it. It's not till you're actually open about things that you can have proper conversations about why people do things, what the risks are. There's a lot of risky things. There's a lot of crap treatments and products that cost a lot of money and don't even work. But how can you even have those conversations if everyone's keeping what they do in secret? So I think the more transparent we are, we're going to have some great conversations about safety, marketing, efficacy, science, research, cost. So it's been really good to be at this point now.
Do you think on the back of people being more open about what they've had done, do you think there are any dangers to people being more open towards, I've had this done, that could maybe fuel someone to be like, I'll go get this done and this done as well then?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a risk. It does normalise things for sure. But like I said before, it's about having that really strong sense of self-worth and mindset. And if you think about, do I need this or do I want this? And if I want this, because it's not a need, like my epidural when I was delivering my babies, do I need this epidural? No. I can deliver these babies fine. Do I want this epidural? Fuck yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, I want it. It's that same thing. Do I need this laser treatment? No. Do I want it? Maybe. Then ask yourself, why do I want it? Do I want it because this celebrity got it? Or do I want it because I feel like if I got rid of this pigment and this rough skin, I'd feel more confident and empowered at work or when I go for job interviews or whatever. I think when you've got a strong mindset and you ask yourself the right questions, that can dictate and better inform yourself about why you're making certain decisions. And I feel like if you're going, I'm just getting this done because a Kardashian or a Jenner got it done, then you've got to step back and be like, hang on a minute, let's have a think about this.
Moving on to the feminism lens on this whole beauty industry, I've been told before that I can't be a feminist because I wear makeup. And I was kind of like, okay, interesting take.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with that. I've also then heard...
That's why.
Yeah.
Because it's bullshit.
I mean, yeah, by a man, no less.
I can imagine... who told you it? A man? That's really weird.
Yes. So I think it just kind of pointed out to me, the conversation. But do you think then you can be a feminist and get a little bit of anti-wrinkle injection?
Absolutely. They're not mutually exclusive. To me, feminism means being equal to men in every way. And if you want to do it with a bit of red lipstick on and a spray tan and some extensions, it doesn't diminish your want for equal rights for women. And to say that it does is a pretty pathetic argument that doesn't stand up in my book. And I think it's because feminism is painted somewhat as a certain, I think in recent history, I would say more of a radical left idea, and feminists have to look a certain way. And I think the media portrays a feminist like that, and we've lost sight of that I can be a feminist. And I've had an anti-wrinkle injection and a spray tan, but I still want for my daughters and my girlfriends and my mum and every female to be equal to a man. And if I've got a bit of lipstick on and a spray tan, that I'm still allowed to have that opinion and it's valid. And for someone to say it's not, I think is pretty silly.
Yeah. Now, in your podcast, you do talk about your beauty routine and your steps getting ready in the morning. That was in one of the first eps. And you have 4 young kids. What do you say to people who ask you, well, how do you juggle them? How do you juggle maintaining your looks? Because I'm guessing they wouldn't ask that to a man.
No, but it's interesting. I was talking to my skin injector, Claire, and I said, what percentage of your clients are male? And she said, almost 20%. Isn't that interesting? So males are definitely heading down that aesthetic journey now. No, they wouldn't say it to a man, but you know what? That list I rattled off in that first Vainish podcast was coming into studio and filming for the first time. So I made a bit of an effort. My kids would see me usually doing the school drop in my Qantas pajamas. I wear pajamas. I've got no bra on. I've got Ugg boots on. I don't get out of the car because I look like crap. And I just put a dark pair of sunnies on and I drive them to school. So I'm both parts. I can be the full, let's do everything. Let's do the makeup, the look, the supplements, have the sauna in the morning, do the Pilates or whatever. And then there's other mornings where I don't do any single thing like that. So they get both of me. Yeah.
Yeah, and you spoke about this a lot, about just being transparent. But you do talk about in your podcast, you talk about some pretty wild things like the salmon sperm facial, tanning nasal and gummies, like tanning gummies. What is one of the grossest things that you've been like, oh, I'm going to do this just for beauty, and just be like, let's try it?
Well, the salmon sperm facial was a doozy. So I always had quite bad hollows under my eyes, genetic. And I even look back at photos when I was a kid, I had these dark circles and I'd always put so much concealer on them and I hated them. I always looked tired. You know, when people are like, oh, you look so tired. It's like, yeah, I was born like this. I was born looking tired. So I got sick and tired of being told I look tired. So I've tried a few things around my eyes. And so I want to try the salmon sperm. So that was a good one. And then we've got one coming up, which I didn't do, but my co-host Jessie Roberts did. And it involves steaming a certain body part.
I've heard about this
too much
one.
Away.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do a deep dive and I watched her do it. I was part of it. I brewed up the tea that was being steamed. That was pretty funny. So that one's coming up. You have to have a listen. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
How did I get here? But the dream is Jess and I, for the Vainish podcast, Jess and I would love to go all around the world, travel and try out global beauty and wellness trends, whether it's cuddle therapy, a rage room, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, threading, whether it's snail mucus facials. There's also a bird poo that they get from a nest, a bird's nest.
Heard
there's
about
bird
that
poo,
too.
and there's a bird poo. We'll try it all.
Yeah.
We'll try it all. So this is what Vainish is. Anything you've wondered about and you're like, is that BS? Does it have good science? How much does it cost? Are there any nasty side effects? Let us know. Jess and I will do it. We'll get an expert on to talk about it, either a scientist, a doctor, it's someone who's really an authority on it, to then do a deep dive. So that's kind of the Vainish game, and it's been a lot of fun. But that's the dreams. We start going around globally. There's so much in Korea that they're doing. They did the snail mucus, the bird poo.
I use the snail mucus.
Same. How good is it?
It's good.
Do you use it on your face or your body?
Face.
I
use it on my face.
It's a bit like lube, isn't it?
Yeah, people freak out when I tell them, hey, it's snail mucus or mucum. But you do, on Vainish, you do bring in experts and you break down the science behind the beauty and also the dangers or the misinformation, which I think is really important when you talk about beauty. Why did you decide to do that?
So we thought if we are going to try these treatments, talk about certain products, so our audience gets a really good idea of it, especially when they're saying, hey, have you tried this? Should I try it? Should I do it? How much does it cost? Jess and I are just, I guess, customers or patients. So we need experts on to really do a deep dive on efficacy research, side effects. So we just went live with our tanning gummies and tanning nasal spray episode, and we had a dermatologist, Dr. Ryan DeCruz, in, and we learned so much. We learned that the tanning nasal spray actually makes your melanocytes proliferate. And if you've got one dodgy one, that can make a melanoma grow so quickly. So you should not use that tanning nasal spray. We posted that. I had a follower straight away DM me and say, thank you so much. I got ad targeted for the tanning nasal spray and I almost bought it. And I heard your podcast saying that it increases your risk of skin cancer, and I removed it from the cart and I didn't go through with the purchase. So I love that we are also de-influencing people from BS that doesn't work and can also really be harmful to your health. So it's really important to give the podcast a lot of credibility, that we get the best experts in the business on to share their thoughts on it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that is really important, especially with, as you said, that listener was a targeted ad for something which might not be regulated.
It's not regulated. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's, as you said, it's really important to actually break down that misinformation.
Yeah. And the thing is, we can't break that down and warn people if we aren't having the conversation about what we do. We're only confident now having the conversation about what we do because it's the year of transparency and we're finally not being shamed for it. So first of all, you remove the shame, then you have the honest conversation, then you get the expert in who debunks it and then could potentially save your life. So they're actually, yes, it's a vanity, beauty, wellness podcast, but there's some really good health messages as well. And we're always going to make sure that we give the audience the best information to make informed choices. But that doesn't start unless we are being open and transparent. There's still always going to be pushback from people. Oh, it's still vain, it shouldn't matter. But hey, if we've stopped her from buying that, job done.
I wanted to ask one last question. Where do you draw the line? What's the procedure you've gone, oh God, I will never do that?
Oh gosh, I would never get a BBL, but the Brazilian butt lift, where they take your fat and then they stick it in your butt and give you a bigger bottom. It's so risky. And I've got a friend who's an anaesthetist and I ran into her one day. We're at the kids' sport and she came in, she was so late and she was flustered and she goes, oh gosh, I'm so sorry I'm late. We had an operation go really, really wrong. It was a BBL. It was a really, really experienced plastic surgeon who does them like a lot, one of Australia's best BBL plastic surgeons. And even with the best team, you can still have these accidents where the fat makes it into the bloodstream and you can have a stroke. And the patient had a massive stroke on the table and they had to save this patient's life. And that is so risky, right? And there's risks with everything. But to me, I mean, I like my butt. I'm in the gym. I could do other things so that it doesn't bother me, that kind of thing. I know a lot of people are into the butt thing, but to me, the risks and the dangers of that are just not there.
Yeah, 100%.
What about you?
I'm only just getting started. I'm not really sure yet. So, but I will be looking out for the steaming coming up in the next episode of Vainish.
I love it. It's so funny.
But thank you so much, Bec, for joining us on the Weekend Briefing.
No worries. Thanks, Helen.
That was Bec Judd, and you can find Vainish wherever you get your podcast. But now it's time for the Weekend List with Antoinette.
Okay, it is the best time of the week because it's Weekend List, and that's where Helen Smith and I get to hang out and pick each other's brains on what it is we've been doing with our spare time. Helen, what have you got this week?
My first recommendation is a book, and it's called Tilda is Visible by Jane Tara. Mm-hmm. Now, it's an Australian author, and she's written over 100 children's books.
Wow.
But this is kind of the first, I'd say, adult book, I guess you could say, that's popped off and blown up. And it's obviously, I listened to the audiobook and it's read.
Always a caveat with you.
Yeah. But it's read by an Australian voice actor, I guess, who reads the books.
Yeah.
But it's really fascinating. It's about women who, once they hit their 40s and 50s and they get diagnosed with this thing called invisibility. And the way it's written is so fascinating because you end up believing it. You believe that this diagnosis is real, and it's literally when they start to turn invisible, like their fingers, it looks like they have no fingers, or their necks turned invisible, blah, blah, blah. And people can see that, oh my God, they've got no neck or they've got no nose or blah, blah, blah.
And is this some social commentary on the way society treats older women?
100%. That's the whole thing is that, but the way it's written, you're like, is this real? You're like, because they put the way this author, like the way Jane embeds kind of facts and actual science behind general social norms and conversations into the book.
So is it fiction?
It's
obviously,
made up,
because people are going invisible.
Like people aren't actually going invisible.
Yeah,
but it's like a play on that, and it's so well done. It's so well written. It ebbs and flows. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but I definitely give it a solid like 7, 8. Sometimes I did dip in and out, but I think the whole crux of the story, it's just so well written of where we are at society right now, especially when you look at Hollywood or you look at people in the media or you look at
everything.
anyone.
Everything.
Like it's wild. So it touches on that. She goes to like support groups, kind of like AA groups for other women with invisibility. And it also explores the beautiful friendships she has with women and divorce and dating when you're in your 40s and 50s. And
which is really not that old if the women decided to go invisible in their 40s.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check that out.
Yeah. And it's the journey of like, because it's incurable, but it's like, how do you, so it's wild. I really like it. So that's Tilda is Visible.
Invisible. Is she visible or invisible?
Well, it's called Tilda is Visible.
Oh, visible.
But she's diagnosed with invisibility.
Okay, Tilda is Visible. I also have a book recommendation. This is actually a children's book. I love books to gift to people, like no matter what. So this is for anybody in your life that is a child. It is written by Eliza Hull, who we've actually had on the weekend briefing before. She is a musician, a disability advocate, and a kids author. It's this gorgeous picture book. It's called Come Together. And it's like really cute and really fun, but quite brilliant because it's about 2 kids and one of them uses a wheelchair. And the kid realizes that there's nowhere in their neighborhood that they can both play in. So they decide to build their own accessible playground. And it works in some really powerful ideas about disability, accessibility, and fun and play in a way that's really natural and uplifting and not preachy. And it's about how the world disables people, not their bodies. And what I've witnessed with Eliza's other book, when I read it to my daughter, like my younger daughter in particular, children are so much more accepting and open and curious. In many ways, society conditions.
Well, they're taught.
Yes,
they're taught to hate or they're taught to discriminate or
to exclude or they're not. Or empathy isn't, empathy and accessibility 100%. And inclusivity isn't spoken about enough. Anyway, it's beautifully illustrated and a lovely story, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for something thoughtful or joyful, for a little human in your life. That is called Come Together by Eliza Hull.
I love that. And Eliza is great. My next recommendation is completely different. It's about food.
Yes.
So Chef's Table, the Netflix series.
Okay. No, I don't.
Well, it's been around for a while, like years, but the latest kind of new season came out in April this year. And Chef's Table, what it is, it's really well done and really well filmed. It goes to some of the best top restaurants in the world and talks to like the head chef, the chef who created it, the food behind it. And it's quite magical and it's so escapism as well. And how food can bring so much joy. And it goes to the people behind it, why they're doing this, why they got into this field. And some of them, it goes all around the world and it's backgrounds and stories of these chefs that some came.
Less about the food and more about the chefs and their journey?
About both. Okay. But I think it really touches on how food is such a universal thing.
Yeah.
That we can all kind of connect on.
Yeah.
And I love that. And the new season is called Chef's Table's Legends, so it goes to some of the biggest kind of chefs that have blown up on it. But one of my favourite eps is actually with Ben Shuri, who we've had on.
Oh, he's so great.
Yeah, so it's him and it goes behind Attica. It's so fascinating, like what goes behind these dishes, especially with Ben and Attica, because he focuses a lot on Australian native ingredients that we don't use. And his restaurant in particular, it shows you that he took it in this pretty random area, random suburb near St Kilda kind of, and just made it into one of the top 50
like a destination location.
In the world. Yeah, so I love Chef's Table, and if you're looking for something just to escape, have it on in the background. It does make you very hungry, so, have snacks. But yeah, that's on Netflix.
Chef's Table on Netflix. Well, I have to recommend Secrets We Keep Lone Actor. And that is not because it's part of the listener family. It's because it is incredible. And I obviously work in podcasts, I listen to podcasts, but I'm also interested in the Christchurch terror attack and the rise of neo-Nazi white supremacy more broadly. I know that sounds weird that I am interested in it, but it's, I've looked into it. It terrifies me. I've covered it. And despite thinking I'm reasonably well-versed, I learned so many things. There were moments where I was like leaning over in shock, where my heart was breaking with some of the testimonies from victims of the terror attacks family. And I just think it's so sound rich and beautiful. Yeah. And I highly, highly recommend it. Have you caught any of it?
I have. And I completely agree. And I also think weirdly, and it's not about the current times, but it hits so many factors and what we're experiencing right now with racism, with all this hate going on in the world. And I think it really...
Well, yeah, we're seeing neo-Nazis assembling in Melbourne wearing black
it's
outside
scary.
of shopping centres and government minister offices.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's
what's going on? Yeah. So I think it touches on so many aspects of, are we actually that much further of where we were, all those years ago when the terror attack happened as to where we are now. And it's such a good bit of journalism. That's really what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's told with sensitivity and curiosity.
100%.
And it sounds beautiful, even though it is terrifying at times. That's Secrets We Keep, Lone Actor.
Thanks, Antoinette. But that's it for this episode of The Weekend Briefing. We hope you enjoyed this chat with Bec Judd. Before you go, though, we'd love it if you could share it with someone else you think might enjoy it. It is a really easy way you can support everything here we do at The Briefing. But you can also follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. And until then, I'm Helen Smith. Catch you next time.